Amateur Radio News and Notes for Friday, May 29th, 2026. I'm Ed Kabik, November 2, Echo Charlie. In the log this week, we've got a contest spotlight for the CQ Worldwide WPX contest in CW. We'll also talk about some free online field day training that's coming from the Long Island CW Club. Also, we'll talk about some MVARC Nets on the air, see what's happening with DX, give a solar activity update, talk about some upcoming contests, and take a look at interesting online radio content. As always, links to all reference content can be found in the show notes or at our Substack at mvarc.substack.com. This weekend brings one of the biggest contests of the year, the CQ Worldwide WPX contest on CW. This is another contest where you can work a ton of DX, but what makes this one special is everyone can work everyone. The WPX part of it is referring to an interesting component of the contest where different call sign prefixes are multipliers. So for me, the prefix would be November 2, so if you worked me, you'd get a multiplier. But Whiskey 2 would be another, as would Kilo 2. Throw in a different number and you get still more. So the points escalate quickly, and almost all contacts are good contacts. The contest starts at 0 UTC on Saturday, May 30th. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday night, and ends on 23:59 UTC on Sunday. That's 7:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday night. During that period of time, a single operator can work 36 of 48 hours, and any off times must be a minimum of an hour with no contacts logged. Bands allowed for the contest include 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10 meters. The exchange is RST plus a serial number. So 59942 if you are someone's 42nd contact. Make sure you get the serial number, as it is required to match for the QSO to count. The final score is the QSO points times the number of prefixes worked. QSO points are 3 for contacts on different continents for 10, 15, and 20 meters, and 6 points for 40, 80, and 160 meters. On the same continent, but different countries, points are 1 point on 10, 15, and 20, and 2 points on 40, 80, and 160 meters. And finally, contacts in the same country are 1 point on all bands. The prefix multipliers are applied only once, regardless of band or frequency of operation. Prefixes are the combination of letters and numbers on the first half of the call, so N2, W4, WA4, S51, Lima Yankee 1000 are all separate prefixes that can be counted. For entry, single operator categories include high power, not exceeding 1500 watts, low power, not exceeding 100 watts, QRP, not exceeding 5 watts. There are also a bunch of overlay categories that can be entered alongside your main category, like Tribander, Rookie, Classic, and Youth. Check the rules for more details on these. There are also multi-operator categories, including Multi-1, Multi-2, Multi-Unlimited, and Multi-Distributed. Again, check the rules for full details. Rules and more information can be found at cqwpx.com. This is always a great contest to make lots of contacts and get all kinds of unique prefixes in your log. Have fun and good luck. The Long Island CW Club was founded in 2017 by Howard WB2UZE and Rich K2 UPS after Field Day that year, in the hopes that they could get more CW operators on the air for future Field Day outings. What they started in Long Island nearly 9 years ago has since grown to an impressive scale, with 8,100 members in all 50 U.S. states and 71 countries around the globe. They currently teach 182 classes a week, covering Morse code as well as a wide variety of topics of interest to the radio amateur. Getting back to that founding desire to promote CW on Field Day, the club is offering free classes to all via Zoom for the month of June, focusing on practical CW skills for Field Day operation. They go over the Field Day exchange, getting into the rhythm of operating, abbreviations you're likely to hear on the air, and practical advice on building your skills in sending, receiving, and confidence on the air. I've been an instructor with the Long Island CW Club for many years now, teaching classes at the beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels, and the organization's commitment to quality education and a welcoming community is second to none. The Field Day classes are free to all and start on Monday, June 1st, 2026. In a public Zoom room, as we go to press, there are classes scheduled Sunday through Thursday for both Field Day CW training and practice, and advanced Field Day training being offered. A full calendar of classes with a link to the Zoom room can be found at longislandcwclub.org/2026 Field Day. So stop on by for some classes and get on the air with CW during this year's Field Day and get all those extra points. Good luck. And now let's take a look at some MVARC Nets on the air. On Tuesdays at 7 p.m., we have our 2-meter FM net that is immediately followed on the repeater by our 2-meter digital net in Yaesu System Fusion C4 FM. Then on the weekends, we have the MVARC Slow Speed CW Roundtable on Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. on 3.565 megahertz CW. And then we have the MVARC Cherry Tree Net on Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 a.m. on 3.920 megahertz lower sideband, where we always have a great conversation, and you're always welcome to join us. Now let's take a look at what is happening with DX. As you would expect on a big contest weekend, there will be a lot of DX on the air this week. Stations on the air include Galapagos, Western Sahara, Kenya, French Polynesia, Mauritius, Juan Fernandez Island, Namibia, Palau, Tonga, St. Kitts and Nevis, Chatham Island, Martinique, Bolivia, Bonaire, Azerbaijan, Maldives, Panama, Market Reef, Lord Howe Island, Macau, Tanzania, and Rwanda. A calendar of DX expeditions can be found at NG3K's announced DX operations list at ng3k.com. And now it's time for a solar activity update as we go to press. The Solar Flux Index, or SFI, was 145, and the estimated sunspot number was 161, with 11 numbered sunspot regions visible from Earth. Over the last week, the SFI has increased. Solar activity has been at low levels in the last 24 hours. The geomagnetic field has been at quiet to active levels in the last 24 hours, and the KP index reached 4 yesterday. The solar wind peaked at 491 kilometers a second. Solar activity is predicted to be at low levels with a chance of M-class flares today through Sunday. The geomagnetic field is forecast to be at quiet to unsettled levels today and Saturday, and at quiet to active levels on Sunday. The chance of solar radiation storms at the S1 or greater level is at 5% today through Sunday. R1 to R2 radio blackouts are possible with a predicted probability of 40% today through Sunday, and R3 or greater blackouts are unlikely with a 5% chance predicted today through Sunday. It remains a fantastic time for amateurs to get on the air and work the world. Good sources of real-time solar information include spaceweatherlive.com and solarham.com. A good overview of conditions can be found at dx.qsl.net/propagation. To see delay or absorption data and associated radio blackouts, visit the NOAA DRAP page. And to see real-time maximum usable frequency, or MUF, and critical frequency, or FOF2 information from radio sonde data, visit prop.kc2g.com. And now let's take a look at some upcoming contests. As we mentioned earlier, the main event this weekend is the CQ Worldwide WPX-CW contest, so there are not too many other contests scheduled. One exception is the Romanian Diaspora SSB contest. As always, the K1USN SSTs, the MSTs, and the CWTs will also be on the air. The full contest calendar with events and exchanges can be found at contestcalendar.com. And now let's wrap things up with some interesting online radio content. As always, all of the links to everything we're about to discuss are in the show notes and also at our Substack at mvarc.substack.com. Kevin, W1DED, and the contest crew talk about CQWPX log checking and WRTC 2026. Senator Ted Cruz thanks amateur radio operators for their efforts in emergency preparedness. Michael, KB9VBR, tests out the Chameleon QRP feather antenna. Vince, VE6LK, promotes the free LICW Field Day classes. Josh, KI6NAZ, takes a look at the rack with mesh tag for Meshtastic. Lewis, M3HHY, talks about the POXAG protocol used for text paging. Walt, K4OGO, tries out a loop-on-ground antenna at the beach. The broadcast engineer talks about the physics of directional antennas. Michael, KB9VBR, shares what he got at Hamvention this year. Column M0XXT gives a tour of his shack. Lewis, M3HHY, takes a look at VOR beacon antenna systems. Dan, WD4DAN, shows us how he works amateur satellite SO50. MSci Guy tests out the new Nano Far-Field Antenna Radiation Pattern Tester. Gabe KL1FI hunts a radio sonde and then takes a look at the radio that makes it work. Colin MM0OPX uses a mag mount with ham sticks to activate POTA. Craig KM6LYW shows how to use VHF and UHF in the backcountry to keep in contact without cell service. Bobby W6IWN shows his SOTA and POTA camping location with all the amenities. Tim K5OHY compares 4 vertical antennas to see the trade-offs of each. Dugbo KD7RT shows us the TUMD CW paddle in action. Dan WD4DAN talks about the challenges of logging satellite contacts and his solutions. Walt K4OGO takes his new FTX1 out for sea trials. Mike KMRD shows off his Hamvention acquisitions. Josh KI6NAZ builds a portable kit from his Hamvention finds. Forrest KI7QCF shows how to modify the Quansheng Medicong HT for CW. And Mike KMRD shows a DC to DC charger to allow lithium iron phosphate batteries to charge with a car's electrical system. Well, that is it for this week. I've been Ed, November 2, Echo Charlie. Thanks, as always, for joining us. We hope you have a great week ahead. Best 73, and we look forward to seeing you next week.